If you're that skinny guy that's been hitting the gym for months and months without anything to really show for it, it's probably because you're not eating enough. I understand this, and trust me, I've been where you are. The problem isn't your genetics or what you're doing in the gym, it's what you're eating. You see, most guys that start going to the gym think that the gains are guaranteed if they go and lift weights every single day. But if you're skinny in specific, that couldn't be farther from the truth. I'm sure you've heard someone say 90% of the gains are not made in the gym, but actually outside the gym. That's why you see these old school bodybuilders absolutely running through large amounts of food in order to get the size that they have. So the problem is not your genetics, it's your strategy. Although I do understand that bulking for skinny guys is something really challenging and something I personally struggled with, especially if you're not used to eating a lot of calories. In this video, I will share with you guys 3 strategies that I personally used to bulk up and gain weight really fast. Now, if you guys don't know who I am, my name is Sean Okello. I make videos helping skinny guys build muscle just based off the experience that I have gone through and how I have been able to transform my own physique to where I am now. So if that's something you guys are interested in, make sure you guys subscribe to the channel. Let's get into the video. So the first method is gonna be pretty practical. You want to start doubling up on the smaller ingredients, especially when you're cooking, and this is gonna make a big difference to the overall calories in your meals. Let me explain. You see, instead of the 1 cup of rice that you used to per meal, why not have 2 cups? Why not have 1.5 cups, as your body gets used to the amount of calories that you need to be eating? Instead of having your normal plain scrambled eggs, why not add some cheese in there? Instead of using just a little bit of butter, fry your eggs and steak and other foods, use a little bit more butter. Maybe if you've been using 1 ounce of butter, add 2 ounces of butter. It won't change the overall size of your food or make it harder to consume because it's just used in the cooking process. It's just used to fry, but it adds a considerable amount of calories to the overall meal. Instead of using just a little drop of olive oil to fry your eggs, use a little bit more oil. It's not gonna make a big difference in the taste of your food. It's also not gonna make a big difference in how easy it is to eat. So instead of having plain old oatmeal, add a scoop of peanut butter, honey to it. You have to think of smart ways to get more calories into your meals without actually increasing the size of your meals. Olive oil, butter, peanut butter, cheese, these are going to be your best friends when it comes to bulking up. The next strategy I'm going to give you guys is to use mass gainer. But wait a minute, I don't mean that overpriced mass gainer powder you see on the shelves of expensive supplement companies that are trying to scam you. I mean make your own high calorie mass gainer shake at home. There's a bunch of different ways you can make a mass gainer high calorie shake. Some people prefer to use loads of dried fruit. Others prefer to use more cereals and more whole foods like oats and things like that. When I was trying to bulk up, my go-to shake was made of a cup of instant oats, a cup of full fat milk, a large banana, and then I'd actually just I'd go crazy with the additions. I'd throw some honey in there, some peanut butter, some cinnamon, some maple syrup as well. Guys, maple syrup is an absolute hack. You can literally use maple syrup on your French toast, on your pancakes, in your shakes. Anyway, let's get back to what I'm talking about. So sometimes I'd even throw like ice cream in there, in the blender. The point is that liquid calories are really essential if you're a skinny guy trying to bulk up. They're generally easier to get down than actual whole foods, and the fact is that drinking your calories is generally easier than actually eating whole foods. You'd really struggle to eat a 2,000 calorie meal, but you'd find it quite easy to take a shake of like 2,500 calories or more. So you want to aim for about 3,000 calories in a day just based purely off liquid calories. It's really easy to get these down, so I'll just suggest that you guys go crazy. When I was bulking up, I actually had 2 of these a day, 1 after my breakfast and 1 just before bed. Probably gonna give you like digestion issues for the first week of doing this, but that's just normal. That's because your body is not used to the high amount of calories you're drinking, but your body with time will get used to it. Your stomach will handle these high calorie shakes better. So basically you just want to find out what you like, find out what you like eating, throw that in a blender with some milk, switch it up, get those high calorie shakes down. They're an absolute cheat code to getting a large amount of calories, and if you're bulking up, you want to have these throughout the week. So the last thing you guys want to do, the final tip I have for you guys, is you want to start ignoring your appetite and treating your eating like training. The same discipline that you go with to go to the gym and train, you know you have to train this amount of times per week. That same discipline, you need to transfer that discipline to your eating as well. You have to eat the way you train. The way you take eating, you have to take it as serious as the way you train. You want to get into the habit of eating with the same discipline that you train with. When you don't feel like going to the gym, you still have to go, because it's something you have to do regardless of how you feel, because it has to be done. Even when you don't have any appetite whatsoever, you have to eat anyway. You have to build that discipline. You want to develop a rhythm of timing your meals according to the clock. The time you wake up affects the time you're going to have your next meal. The time you have your breakfast is going to affect the time you have your lunch. So the rhythm of breakfast, then probably a high calorie shake, then lunch, then a snack. You have to build that rhythm according to the time you wake up. You have to eat at this specific meal at this specific time, so that you're ready for your next meal. And that's the rule and the discipline that you want to follow. You have to stop relying on your appetite. You're not always gonna feel like eating. When you're bulking, your body is gonna respond in a way that you're not gonna be hungry all the time, because you're eating a high amount of calories, so that you can't expect yourself to feel hungry. When I started bulking, the hardest part for me was actually breakfast. I would wake up with zero appetite, but I would force down those eggs and those oats, because I knew my next meal is in 3 hours, so I need to get this breakfast down so that I don't affect the amount of calories I eat in the next meal. With time, as you stick to this rhythm, your body will also adjust. It will become easier to consume a high amount of calories. If you're not a breakfast person, with time I can confirm that you will start enjoying breakfast. You will actually, right now when I wake up, within 1 to 2 hours I'm literally starving, because my body is now so used to eating a high amount of calories a few hours after I wake up. So I can confirm that it does get easier. And it's funny enough, breakfast is probably my heaviest meal of the day. Don't listen to that appetite of yours. You're not going to have appetite when you're bulking, that's for sure. You're going to be consuming a large amount of calories, so you're not going to feel hungry. So if you're a skinny guy, you're planning to do your first bulk, or you've been bulking and you found it very hard in the past and you want to start another bulk, add these strategies to your game plan, and I promise you it will become much easier and much faster to bulk up. That's all for this video. I'll see you guys in the next one. Make sure you guys subscribe and like the video.